Hello everyone. Now we are moving towards module 3. In this module, first we look at physical challenges or disability. Physical challenges or disability refers to the condition of being unable to perform a task or function because of a physical or mental impairment. A physical or mental condition that significantly limits a person's motor, sensory, or cognitive abilities. In other words, a physical challenge or disability is a substantial and long term condition affecting a part of a person's body that impairs and limits their physical functioning, mobility, and stamina. The loss of physical capacity results in the person's having a reduced ability or inability to perform body movements such as walking, moving their hands and arms, sitting and standing, as well as controlling their muscles. A physical disability does not necessarily stop you from performing specific tasks but makes them more challenging. This includes daily tasks taking longer to complete, such as getting dressed or difficulty gripping and carrying things. The most common types of physical challenges affect a primary sense or ability to move and get around easily. These include visual impairment, hearing impairment, and motor impairment. So now we look at visual impairment. Visual impairment, including blindness, means impairment in vision that, even with correction, adversely affects a child's educational performance. The term includes both low vision and blindness. Visual impairment is a condition in which a student's vision is deficient to such a degree that it significantly affects his school functioning. Visual ability of the eye to see distant objects clearly is assessed by the doctor. Visually impaired children mostly make use of sound to detect any obstacle in their path. A simple training about the different sounds, their direction and distance made in the streets, in the kitchen, or going home from school may help visually impaired children to travel independently. They should be trained for making use of other senses to make safe movement. The way of these children should be clear for their safe and efficient mobility. People who are blind or have low vision can use technology and equipment and strategies to lead fairly independent and safe lives at home and in the community. So let's proceed with types of visual impairment. Number 1, partially sighted. A visual impairment that adversely affects a student's educational performance even when corrected to the extent possible. Number 2, low vision disability. Visual disability characterized as low vision generally refers to moderate to severe visual impairment, not necessarily limited to distance vision. It applies to all individuals with sight who are unable to read the newspaper at a normal viewing distance, even with the aid of eyeglasses or contact lenses. The persons suffering with such disability are potentially capable of using vision for executing a task with appropriate assistive devices. Number 3. Legal blindness. Visual disability referred to as legal blindness is the characteristics of the individuals having less than 20 by 200 vision in the better eye after correction, or a very limited field of vision 20 degree as its widest point. Here, the visual acuity of 20 by 200 means that the person can see an object that is normally seen at 200 feet only at a distance of 20 feet. Limited or reduced field of vision means that the individual has tunnel vision with limited peripheral vision. Next one is total blindness. The visual disability referred to as total blindness is the characteristics of the persons who have no vision, that is, no perception at all, of the object seen and can learn via braille or other non-visual media. Moving further with the causes of visual impairment. There are some causes of this problem which come as under, like heredity. Heredity is a cause of vision impairment problem among children. If parents are blind, their child would be blind. So this disability is transferred from generation to generation because of heredity. This problem has no solution. Blindness after taking birth. When after birth, children face accidents, injury and illness, and after that careless treatment would cause blindness. This may cause less or complete blindness in the child. Let's see characteristic of students with visual impairment. Student tries to reach in front of or beyond an object, holding object very close or very far to see them, turning or tilting his head when he uses the eyes, continuously pushing or poking his eyes and looking above, below or off to one side of an object rather than directly at it, bumping into objects and having a lot of trouble seeing at night, feeling for objects on the ground instead of looking with her eyes. So, the question arises, what can you do when you are working with children with visual impairment? So, we should encourage students to become independent learners. We should create opportunities for students to manipulate their own environment. We should reinforce their efforts and help develop a healthy self-concept. Teach students how to communicate non-verbally. Learn how to use special equipment. Guarantee classroom is free of obstacles. Non-verbal cues depend on good visual acuity, verbally acknowledging key points in the conversation facilitates the communication process. And reading aloud materials from overheads, blackboards or handouts. Verbal description of class activity, such as when a show of hands is requested, stating how many hands were raised. tape recorders, laptop computers, or slates for note taking, and class assignments available in electronic format such as computer disk to allow access by computer equipped with voice synthesizer for braille output devices. Thus, children with visual impairment have special needs because they depend on other senses for learning various daily living skills along with academic living objectives in school. There are two peculiar examples of people who were blind by birth: Helen Keller and Ray Charles. So let's see some information about Helen Keller. Helen Keller was an American author, disability rights advocate, political activist, and lecturer. She born in West Alabama. She lost her sight and hearing after a bout of illness at the age of 19 months. She then communicated primarily using home signs until the age of seven when she met her first teacher and lifelong companion, Anne Sullivan, who taught her language including reading and writing. Sullivan's first lesson involved spelling words on Keller's hand to show her the names of objects around her. After an education at both specialist and mainstream schools, she attended Radcliffe College of Howard University and became the first deafblind person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. She worked for the American Foundation for the Blind from 1924 until 1968, during which time she toured the United States and traveled to 35 countries around the globe advocating for those with vision loss. In another example, Ray Charles Robinson. He was an American singer, songwriter, pianist, and composer. He was often referred to as the genius. Charles was blinded during childhood, possibly due to glaucoma. Charles pioneered the soul music genre during the 1950s. Charles became one of the first black musicians to be granted artistic control by a mainstream record company. So, it is very important for children with visual impairment to get a diversity of exposure to different experiences in their early year of life to be successful later. So in this lecture, we have seen concept of visual impairment. Thank you for watching.